Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of This Week in the XFL. I'm your host, as always, the referee representing XFL Newsroom, the number one source in XFL news. So, we reported last week that team names may be coming this week, so we figure we're going to kick off the episode and give a slight update and say, hey, it doesn't look like they're coming this week, right? So, we did speak to some folks in the league, and we did get a little bit more clarification, right? There's still no timelines on when we're getting the team names, but we're told that there will be no surprise on when we're getting the team names. So what I get from that is we're going to get some sort of announcement that's going to give us the date on which they're going to be released. And, stay tuned to xflnewsroom.com daily because, the second we hear it, we're going to be posting about it. So, unfortunately, that news is not coming right now. We don't know if it's coming next week, this month. We don't know. That being said, there is a reason we did report on it. We actually received multiple tips that this was actually going to be happening. And actually, one of those leads is a reputable source that we've used in the past. They gave us some information that we published and was true. So, unfortunately, these things happen. And you know what? The show will go on, but we do have some big news this week. We do have some news about the draft, but we're going to talk about a couple items before we get to the real exciting stuff, right? So first, early Monday, there was a tweet that went out that said the XFL was going to be doing some scouting in the Netherlands. We spoke to a league representative then, and we confirmed the league has no involvement in this. I don't know if it's a scam, but they're not affiliated with the XFL. The XFL doesn't know who they are. They're not a part of the event. So if you are attending or if you were planning on attending to try to get a spot in the XFL, this is not the show for you, unfortunately. That's not to say that the XFL isn't doing international scouting, but this is not the event that they're doing it at. So again, we'll keep you posted if we learn more on any of these situations going further. So really, the big news of the week. It looks like the XFL has started sending invites to showcase attendees to take part in the XFL draft. Now that's huge. I know we didn't get the team names. I know that's what a lot of people were looking forward to, but this is some big news. And due to that, we're learning some new bits and pieces a part of this draft process, right? So the XFL sent out its first wave of invites. So they're sending these things out in waves, mainly in part because when the NFL starts making their cuts here during the preseason and into September, they're going to start sending invites to those folks as well, right? So if you listen to the XFL podcast earlier this week, Tron Hawkins talked about it, the battle in Seattle, right? So will one of those guys get an invite? Only time will tell. Will the NFL hold on to more players than normal so the XFL doesn't get them? It's a possibility, right? Especially when you start looking at these teams that maybe have some injury-prone players like quarterbacks, running backs, things like that. They might want to just have that sitting as an option if somebody gets hurt rather than have the XFL take all of those tiered style players, right? So that's where we're going here. So out of total, it sounds like there's going to be about 800 invites sent out, right? So that's a pretty decent amount. Another little nugget that came out of this, though, that I think is pretty interesting is that each team is going to draft 70 players. So that comes out to roughly 560 players. So not everybody that gets this invite is guaranteed to be signed. Now, I've seen a couple people reporting that the XFL has started signing players this week. Now, that is not true. The XFL isn't signing anyone. They're giving invites to the draft, right? And then if you get drafted and you sign a HIPAA release form and pass a background check, that's when you get signed, folks. So it's not happening yet. But a lot of these players that are getting invites, there's a very good chance that they will get signed. So I'm excited about that. We've seen some of the players already. So Express quarterback Brandon Silvers, he announced on Twitter sign him up. He got that invite. He was at the Houston showcase, and I'm excited about that. I would love to see him for the Houston team. I would love to see him on any of the teams. He'd be great up in Dallas as well, but I think we know who Stoops' favorite is, and if he has the opportunity to get Landry Jones, he's going to do it. But, time will tell. Maybe Silvers will be a backup in the league. We don't know really even how many invites have been sent out in this first wave. It could only be 100. There could be 700 more invites coming. It could have been half, which is still 400 invites of people that, possibly from the CFL or, people getting cut from the NFL. Maybe some names that we didn't see in the showcase, like a Johnny Manziel. It's a possibility. I'm not going to say it's a big possibility, but he's expressed interest. The league has said, we'll leave it to the coaches. So, keep your eye on that. It's a very big it's a possibility that we could see some of these bigger names that didn't attend the showcase join the league. And this is what makes this so exciting, right? We still have 6 months, a little under 6 months until kickoff. And every day we're learning something new about the league. And I love it, right? Again, I know there's a lot of frustrations. Where's the team names? I don't know if you saw the article, but the pitchforks, right? People are angry. People are frustrated, but people are talking about the league, right? So it's not the worst thing in the world. And, speaking of people talking about the league, right? It's already proving, the TV broadcast partners that they have are already proving their value, right? So when the press release came out about the draft invites, it was on the ticker on ESPN, right? So that's a major sports station that's broadcasting that the XFL has sent out their invites. And as we get closer to the league, we're going to start seeing more and more of our broadcast partners talking about the happenings in the league. Even recently, we spoke to one of the sports directors for a local news station out here in Houston. And he told me he's going to be covering the XFL just like he would the Texans or any of our sports teams, right? The Dynamo when it comes to soccer, or the Astros. They're going to be covering the XFL as a tier 1 sports entity in this city. And I expect the same in the rest of these cities. And to me, that's excellent, right? So again, if drafted, the players have to sign the HIPAA release. They have to pass a medical examination and a background check, and then they're getting signed. So we spoke a lot about that here. So we already knew the XFL was going to be holding some sort of preseason here in Houston where all of the teams would be involved, right? Playing scrimmages and probably practicing and doing strength workouts and things like that together, right? So another piece that came out of this discussion around the draft is it looks like the XFL has also scheduled a mini camp in December. This will again involve all of the teams. There's no location announced yet, but I've still seen some people online saying this still might not be enough time to get these teams to gel together, right? And that is true, but there's nothing here that says that the coaches aren't going to have access to the players directly after the draft. So we know the draft takes place in early October. We don't know the date, but we know that it takes place in early October. That's what we're told, right? So that, in theory, gives them, at minimum, the last 2 weeks of October, really probably the last week of October, depending on timelines, and all of November for the teams to kind of get to know each other, work with the coaches to learn the game plan, the game styles, right? Because there are some very eccentric coaches in the XFL. You look at a Bob Stoops and look at a June Jones, and then compare that to a Kevin Gilbride or a Jim Zorn, right? Different styles of coaching. And so these players may need to kind of get up to speed on what that style is. Now, I assume the coaches are probably going to pick players that fit into their playing style, but there will be opportunities for that to benefit both sides. And you still want your players to work with you and the other players as much as you can, because these are the things that build great teams, right? When you look at the original XFL, they didn't have the greatest football in the first half of the season, but the second half wasn't actually the worst football. And the reason being is that these teams had actually had enough time to work together, get to know each other, get to know the little intricacies of how each other plays, how each other moves, things of that nature. And I think we're going to see a lot of these coaches start doing that prior to the mini camp and prior to this preseason training camp that happens in Houston in January. Again, we don't know, but we will get specifics sooner or later. And I'm just excited that we're seeing more news come down the pipeline. Again, we discussed it earlier in this broadcast. A lot of people are still frustrated that we don't know the team identities, but they are coming. This league is funded, and what it sounds like, it's funded for at least 3 years. So you got to assume these names are coming. Again, as a reminder, the AAF didn't release theirs until September 24th. Now, I know another argument is, well, the AAF didn't say that they were going to release them in May, June, July, and kind of flub those numbers. But you know what? Things happen. But day by day, we're seeing the league make the hires that they need to make to have a successful execution, right? So we're starting to see each of the franchises fill up all of their coaching staffs, which most of them have done. But more importantly, from a front office standpoint, we're seeing a lot of the franchises now hire communications directors, marketing directors, and marketing folks like social media people, because these are the people that you need to have in place to have a successful launch, right? Again, I'm a marketing guy. I've rolled out a lot of different types of marketing campaigns that may be similar to this. And gee, if I only had marketing people in half of our franchises, it would be a nightmare, right? Because again, beyond posting the information, in all reality, you're going to want to communicate with reporters in each of the franchises to get that news out. You're going to want to respond to folks on social media that either like it, disagree, or don't like it. So if you don't have those people in place, you're gonna fail. You're only as strong as your weakest link, right? So again, I'm not angry that we're on still a little bit of a delay on these team identities. I understand why folks are, but do understand they're coming, and we will get an announcement on when they're coming, so it's not like you're gonna wake up one day and there they are. So hopefully that announcement will be coming soon. So that's about it for this week. I hope everybody enjoyed. Make sure you tune in next Friday and every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on YouTube and at XFL Newsroom. But hey, before I let you go, if you didn't know, we're also on Facebook and Twitter. Make sure you drop a like and comment at XFL Newsroom. Sign you up. And since we're on YouTube, make sure you drop a like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell to see when we're dropping new videos. Some are going to be live and some are going to be pre-recorded just like this one. So until next time, sign you up.